What up, people? 2 weeks ago, I made a video talking about the top RPGs that were released in the first half of the year. And because this year is so packed with quality games, especially RPGs, I thought it would make sense to preview the best ones that are slated to release the rest of the year. Like I say in almost every video, my ultimate goal is to make sure that everyone can find a couple of games they might want to play. And because of that, I'll only be covering one game per franchise or series. Also, if you're new to the channel, I make videos about single player games with a heavy focus on RPGs, but I talk about other genres from time to time. If you end up enjoying this video, hit that like button to help with the algorithm. So, now that I got all that out of the way, here are the top 10 RPGs coming out in the second half of 2023. The first game on the list is actually an expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, which is called Phantom Liberty. The game will be set in a brand new district of Night City and is a major DLC expansion similar to Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine expansions for Witcher 3. Return to Night City as V as you take an oath to, quote, faithfully serve the United States of America, explore a brand new district, take on new jobs, discover new weapons, cyberware, armor, vehicles, and upgrades, as well as face new threats and challenges. When I first bought the game for PS4 on launch day, I, like many others, wasn't happy with it and I got a refund. Later on, I bought the game again on PS4 for $10 because of the free PS5 upgrade I heard about, and once I started playing, I was hooked. While Cyberpunk does fall victim to common tropes and mistakes that come with open world games, I really enjoyed my time with it. And if CD Projekt Red can deliver with this massive expansion, then I feel it will put them back in good graces with a lot of people who've understandably written them off. At number 9, we have Persona 5 Tactica, which seems to be Persona 5 mixed with like a little Fire Emblem or XCOM, which is the perfect sales pitch to get me to play a game. Similar to Persona Q2 on the Nintendo 3DS, we have the P5 cast and a spin-off with a more chibi design, but instead of drawing out a dungeon, you'll be focusing more on strategy. The gameplay utilizes the mechanics of the Persona series such as affinities and one mores in a tabletop format. Up to 3 party members can be equipped in combat, and the protagonist isn't mandatory to be in the party. These allies can perform a combined triple threat attack by targeting enemies within a triangular area formed by said combatants as long as all enemies within the highlighted field are down. Persona 5 is one of my all-time favorite RPGs and just games period, so I'll definitely be playing this game day one when it releases on November 17th. Next up, we have Lies of P. The game is an action Souls-like RPG that is developed and published by NeoWiz Games alongside game developer Round 8 Studio. Lies of P is a dark retelling of the story of the famous puppet Pinocchio, set in Europe around the late 19th century to the early 20th century. You'll play as Pinocchio, a mechanoid puppet who is in search of finding Mr. Geppetto and sets out on an unrelenting journey of becoming a human being. Pinocchio uses an arsenal of weapons such as swords and axes against his enemies and can dodge and block their blows. Pinocchio has a mechanical arm that can be equipped with gadgets such as a grappling hook to lure enemies or a flamethrower. The weapon and crafting system offers 30 different weapon types with 100 combinations. The game features a line system where the decisions the player makes during certain passages affect the course of events, leading to 3 different endings. While I'm not the biggest fan of the Souls genre, an action RPG that also mixes in choice-based decisions might be too good for me to pass up. At number 7, we have Sea of Stars. After releasing the popular action platform The Messenger back in 2018, Sabotage Studio decided to move over to RPGs. Set in the same universe as The Messenger, Sea of Stars is meant to be a prequel story to what happened in that game. I backed this Kickstarter because of how much I enjoy turn-based RPGs, as well as the beautiful pixelated visual art style. The game claims to not have any random encounters and instead battles will take place in the same field that you're exploring, which I feel will help with the immersion while playing. Pressing the action button in sync with the animations increase damage output while also reducing incoming damage. Along with time hits, combat features multi-character combo attacks, boosting, and a strategic lock system that offers options to play with different damage types in order to hinder enemies while they are channeling powerful attacks or spells. The Sea of Stars Kickstarter blew past all of its goals and it will be released on all platforms. So, if you're looking for another turn-based RPG with amazing beautiful pixel art, I think you should check this game out when it releases on August 29th. Next on the list, we have Immortals of Aveum. The game is a first-person shooter that focuses exclusively on magic, and while it isn't a true RPG, there are enough RPG elements in the game that I wanted to include it. In the game, you'll be playing as Jack, a Triarch Magnite with the extremely rare ability to wield all 3 colors of magic. Having recently joined Luzium's Order of the Immortals under the command of General Kirkin, Jack stands to turn the tide of the Ever War. Experience fast, fluid, first-person spell-based combat that's easy to learn and satisfying to master. When it comes to gameplay strategy, magic is at its core of both offense and defense. Creatively leverage all 3 forces of magic and be rewarded for chained attacks and well-timed counters. Unlock and upgrade more than 25 spells and 80 talents. Discover, upgrade, and craft hundreds of pieces of magical gear. Then, synergize your playstyle across all 3 forces of magic and become Avion's most powerful Triarch Magnus. The reason I'm interested in this game is because I've never really heard of a magic first-person shooter before, at least none that I can remember. Since I haven't been following Immortals of Avium too closely, I'll definitely have to wait for reviews, but I think this game has the potential to be very special. Kicking off the top 5, we have Atlas Fallen. The game is an action RPG developed by Deck 13 Interactive and published by Focus Entertainment. After creating and customizing your character, you're equipped with an ancient gauntlet that allows you to manipulate sand. With the gauntlet, players can shape the sand around them into weapons. Players can use 3 different weapons, though they can only carry 2 at any given time. Players are required to dodge, counter, and block incoming attacks, as well as quickly switch between land and air combat. As players attack enemies, they will gain momentum. At a certain momentum threshold, the weapon the player is currently wielding will transform, and they can unleash a special skill or ability that deals devastating damage to their opponents. One of the things I like about Atlas Fallen is that it's a next-gen exclusive, meaning it'll only be available for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, and maybe S, I'm not sure. I know for last-gen console owners that kinda sucks, but I personally prefer next-gen only because it might mean that the game will run better and also come out sooner. From what I've seen of gameplay videos and trailers, the game looks really fun and is also just pretty to look at. Since there are so many games coming out this year, I'll probably wait for a sale much later, but this is definitely a game I'll be keeping an eye on. Next, we have Lords of the Fallen. It's a lot of Fallen games. Anyway, previously named Lords of the Fallen 2, this fantasy action RPG is meant to be the spiritual successor to the original game released in 2014. Journey across 2 expansive parallel worlds in your epic quest to overthrow a deer. While the living realm presents its own brutal challenges, untold terrors lurk in the nightmarish realm of the dead. Fully customize your character's appearance from a wide array of visual options before selecting one of 9 character classes. Whichever starting path you take, develop your character to your own playstyle by upgrading stats, weapons, armor, and spells. Like its predecessor, players can use both melee weapons and magic to defeat enemies, and the game's gameplay and combat system adopted elements from Soul-like games. Choose from hundreds of uniquely brutal weapons or forgo metal for magic with devastating attacks of the arcane. Like I mentioned with Liza P, Souls games aren't really my thing, so this will probably be a skip for me, but if you're a fan of action RPGs that go out of their way to give you a challenge, Lords of the Fallen seems like the perfect choice to play when it releases on October 13th. At number 3, we have Baldur's Gate 3. By the time this video comes out, the game will probably already be out on PC, but I wanted to add it anyway, so sue me. Based on the D&D 5e rule set, team-based initiative, advantage and disadvantage, and role modifiers join an advanced AI, expanded environmental interactions, and a new fluidity in combat that rewards strategy and foresight. 3 different difficulty settings allow you to customize the challenge of combat. Enable weighted dice to help sway the battle, or play on tactician mode for a hardcore experience. Because the early access was like 2020, I believe, I kind of put this game out of my mind. But now that the game is so close, I'm really excited to play it. I even bought a Steam Deck just to be able to play in handheld, so you can tell I'm very committed. If you haven't already bought the game or still need some convincing, I made a video showcasing the top 10 reasons you should be excited for Baldur's Gate 3, so if you want some more detailed info on the game, go check that out. Between the class options available, the sizable dialogue, the cutscenes, the 100 plus playtime, and the vast amount of endings promised, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to demand your time in the best and most fun way possible, and because of that, I can't recommend this game enough. At number 2, we have Super Mario RPG. Set to be released in November, this game is a modern remake of the 1996 game Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Some of the notable design changes include all the characters being seemingly shorter, which I'm assuming is to match their modern designs, and also the whole game now being in 3D. The combat uses the traditional turn-based system without active time elements or its speed contributing extra attacks. One of the more innovative features of the combat was the inclusion of time button press sequences, which became a mainstay of every Mario RPG. As well as selecting attacks, the player is usually required to perform action commands to increase the damage done. These consist of timed button presses and other movements to determine the power of the character's attack, a concept that was carried over to some later role-playing games such as Final Fantasy VIII. What's funny is that when this game was announced during the Nintendo Direct, I was kind of salty that they didn't announce Mario Odyssey 2, and because of that, I kind of wrote this game off. But after watching the gameplay again, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm kind of digging this game's vibe. And while I'm sure a sequel to Mario Odyssey is coming eventually, Super Mario RPG will make that wait a lot easier to deal with. And at number 1, we have Bethesda's Starfield. After being announced in 2018 at E3, man, remember when E3 was a thing? Fans have been eagerly waiting for the next series from the makers of the popular Fallout and Elder Scrolls series. What has fans excited is the freedom you've been promised to have throughout the game. Character customization, deep weapon crafting, and building various outposts across planets will be available for players, but apparently you'll be able to build, customize, and fly your own spaceship as well. Xbox and Bethesda has also been heavily promoting exploration with the ridiculous number of planets said to be accessible. I feel that Starfield might be one of, if not the most important game being released this year, and I say that because with Xbox's lack of major first-party titles in 2022 and the poor reviews of Redfall, Starfield has an immense amount of pressure to deal with and it almost has to be a success. However, with all the trailers shown and the lengthy direct we got, everything I've seen so far of Starfield looks promising, so I can't wait to play it when it's released on September 6th exclusively on Xbox and PC. Okay, that's all I got for you today. What RPGs are you looking forward to for the rest of the year? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video, I really appreciate it. If you missed my video covering the top 10 RPGs of the year so far, or you want some other game recommendations, click one of the links on the screen. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with the channel. Later.